The Kepler research facility buzzed with unprecedented activity as news spread across the galaxy. Deep in the Mojave Desert, what had once been humanity's most secretive xenoarchaeology site now hosted representatives from every major civilization. The reason was simple. The vanguard of eternity, a 15,000-year-old alien warship, had finally awakened. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the facility's chief xenoarchaeologist, watched through reinforced windows as the massive vessel hummed with renewed life. Its crystalline hull caught the desert sun, casting rainbow patterns across the concrete floors where Marcus Chen methodically mopped, earbuds in, completely absorbed in his work. 10,000 applicants, muttered Admiral Corex, his scaled skin gleaming under the harsh lights. The Zentaurian military commander reviewed holographic displays showing credentials that would make any recruitment officer weep with joy. Fleet admirals, quantum physicists, tactical geniuses, combat veterans with centuries of experience. General Sarah Morrison nodded grimly. The ship's AI has been scanning everyone for 3 days now. Every species' best and brightest are here. Vorthan, strategists, Kalari tech priests, even those telepathic minds from the outer rim. Marcus squeezed out his mop, the mundane sound somehow cutting through the tension. He'd worked at Kepler for 7 years, maintaining the facility while brilliant minds above his pay grade made discoveries that reshaped understanding of the universe. Today felt different, though. The ship's presence made the air itself feel electric. The selection process is beyond our comprehension, Dr. Vasquez explained to the gathered dignitaries. The ship's AI, it calls itself the Archive, uses criteria we can't decipher. It's rejected war heroes, turned away Nobel laureates, dismissed candidates with genetic enhancements worth more than small planets. Through the facility's intercom, a voice resonated with harmonics that seemed to bypass the ears and speak directly to consciousness. The evaluation continues. Worthiness cannot be measured by accolades or ancestry. The eternal makers understood this truth. Marcus paused in his work, glancing at the magnificent ship. For just a moment, he could have sworn he felt something, like being noticed by something vast and ancient. But that was ridiculous. He was just the janitor. Outside, a sandstorm approached, its wall of dust promising to test the facility's environmental systems. Marcus made a mental note to check the air filtration units later. Someone had to keep the place running while history unfolded around them. He returned to his mopping, unaware that history was quietly evaluating him. The announcement chamber fell silent as the Archive's voice filled the space with its otherworldly resonance. 10,000 of the galaxy's finest stood in perfect formation, their achievements displayed on floating holoscreens above their heads. Combat records, scientific breakthroughs, leadership credentials, a constellation of excellence that represented the pinnacle of interstellar civilization. Marcus finished, checking the air filtration system just as the massive doors sealed. The sandstorm had hit harder than expected, and he'd spent the last hour ensuring the facility's life support remained stable. His maintenance coveralls were dusty, his hands bore fresh scrapes from wrestling with a stubborn filter housing, and he carried the faint scent of cleaning chemicals and honest work. After extensive evaluation, the Archive announced, the selection is complete. Admiral Corex straightened his ceremonial armor. General Morrison adjusted her medals. The Vorthan, prime strategist, calculated probabilities. Every candidate held their breath. The chosen vessel bonded is Marcus Chen, maintenance technician, level 3. The silence stretched like a held breath before shattering into chaos. Accusations flew in 17 different languages. Malfunction. Impossible. The system's been compromised. Marcus stood frozen in the back corner, his janitor's cart beside him like a faithful companion. There's got to be some mistake, he stammered, but his voice was lost in the uproar. Dr. Vasquez pushed through the crowd, her face pale with confusion. "Archive, please clarify. Our records show Marcus Chen as facility maintenance staff, not a candidate." "There is no error," the archive replied with infinite patience. "Marcus Chen demonstrates the qualities the Eternal Makers deemed essential for vessel command. He has been observed for 10,157 days. His worthiness is beyond question." "What qualities?" General Morrison demanded. "He's not military trained. He has no command experience." "He fixes what is broken," the archive said simply. "He maintains what others neglect. He notices what others overlook. When the life support systems failed in Sector 7 last month, he worked 18 hours without rest to ensure the safety of researchers he had never met. When Dr. Khalil's experiment required specific atmospheric conditions, he modified ventilation systems using components that, according to regulations, were incompatible. Yet they functioned perfectly. Marcus felt 1,000 eyes boring into him. Things need to work properly. People depend on them working." "Precisely," the archive hummed with something that might have been approval. "The Eternal Makers built me not for conquerors, but for those who serve. Step forward, Marcus Chen. Let us begin." As Marcus walked toward the ship on trembling legs, he missed the calculating look in Admiral Corex's eyes and the whispered conversations already beginning among the rejected candidates. Not everyone would accept this decision gracefully. The ship's interior defied every expectation Marcus had built during 7 years of watching it from the outside. Corridors breathed with bioluminescent patterns, walls shifted to accommodate. His height and the floor beneath his feet felt oddly warm and welcoming. The archive had given him simple instructions. Learn, listen, begin. "I don't understand any of this," Marcus admitted, running his fingers along what might have been a control panel. The surface responded to his touch with gentle chimes, symbols flowing like water across its surface. "Understanding grows from observation and practice," the archive replied, its voice now coming from everywhere and nowhere. "The Eternal Makers designed their vessels for symbiosis, not domination. Watch." The walls became transparent, revealing the facility's main conference room where angry voices carried through the communication system. Admiral Corex stood at the head of a makeshift coalition, his scaled features twisted with indignation. "This is unprecedented and unacceptable," Corex declared. "A custodial worker cannot command a vessel of this magnitude. I propose we override the selection." "How?" Dr. Vasquez asked wearily. She'd been fielding complaints for 6 hours. "The ship chose him. We can't exactly argue with 15,000-year-old technology." "We can declare the selection void due to obvious malfunction," General Morrison suggested. "Implement emergency protocols and run a proper selection process." Marcus watched his former colleagues debate his fate, feeling like an imposter. "They're right, aren't they? I'm just a janitor. I clean things. I fix air conditioners and unclog toilets." "And what is a ship's captain?" the archive asked. "One who maintains crew welfare, ensures systems function properly, notices problems before they become critical. You have demonstrated these abilities for years." A new voice joined the conference room discussion. Commander Thrix, a 4-armed Kalari with cybernetic enhancements covering half her blue-skinned face. "Perhaps we should test this unusual selection. Give the humans some simple commands and observe the results." "I cannot allow untrained personnel to operate alien technology," Corex protested. "Then we remain at impasse," Thrix observed. "The ship will not respond to anyone else." Marcus felt the ship's attention focus on him like warm sunlight. "What do you want me to do?" "Be yourself," the archive said. "Show them what I already know." The ship's systems came alive around him, not the cold, mechanical interfaces he'd expected, but something organic and responsive. He could sense the ship's needs: a minor imbalance in the artificial gravity generators, a communication array that required calibration, hull sensors that needed cleaning after the sandstorm. "It's like a really complicated building," Marcus murmured, instinctively reaching for the gravity controls. "Everything's connected. If one system fails, it affects everything else." His hands moved with growing confidence, adjusting settings with the same intuitive understanding he'd always had for the facility's machinery. Outside, the gathered dignitaries watched in stunned silence as the ancient warship responded flawlessly to commands from a man who'd never seen its like. But Marcus was too absorbed in his work to notice the sabotage device Admiral Corex was quietly activating. The explosion rocked the Kepler facility like an earthquake, sending researchers diving for cover as emergency lights bathed everything in hellish red. Marcus felt the ship shudder around him, systems screaming warnings in harmonics that bypassed language and spoke directly to his nervous system. "Hull breach in Section C," the archive reported with mechanical calm. "Life support compromised. Estimated time to critical atmospheric loss, 14 minutes. Through the ship's sensors, Marcus watched chaos unfold in the facility below. Admiral Corex's test had gone wrong, or perhaps exactly as intended. The shaped charge meant to disable non-critical systems had instead ruptured a main structural beam, triggering a cascade failure that threatened the entire research wing. "Can we help them?" Marcus asked, his janitor's instincts overriding any concern for his own safety. "The ship possesses repair capabilities," the archive replied. "However, you are untrained in their use. The risk—" "People are going to die," Marcus interrupted, already moving toward what felt like the right control station. "How do I fix this?" In the conference room below, General Morrison barked orders while Dr. Vasquez coordinated evacuation procedures. Commander Thrix's cybernetic eye whirred as she calculated structural stress patterns. But it was Admiral Corex who drew Marcus's attention. The Zentorian was backing away from the blast zone with suspicious calm, speaking urgently into a private communicator. He did this on purpose, Marcus realized, his hands dancing across controls that seemed to anticipate his thoughts. "He's trying to prove I can't handle an emergency." "The Admiral's motivations are irrelevant," the archive observed. 43. Sentient beings require immediate assistance. Will you provide it? Marcus didn't answer with words. Instead, he reached out with senses he didn't know he possessed, feeling the ship's systems like extensions of his own body. The vessel's repair. Drones launched from hidden bays, their movements precise and purposeful. Molecular assemblers began manufacturing emergency atmospheric seals. Tractor beam projectors locked onto unstable debris before it could cause further damage. "How are you doing this?" Dr. Vasquez's voice crackled through the communication system. "The ship's response is, it's like watching a master surgeon." Marcus barely heard her, too focused on the delicate work of holding a building together while microscopic robots rebuilt it from the inside. It was the same principle he'd always followed. Understand the system, identify the problem, apply the simplest solution that actually worked. "Structural integrity restored," he reported, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Atmospheric pressure normalizing. You should be safe to re-enter in about 10 minutes. The facility fell silent except for the hum of restored life support systems. Then Commander Thrix's voice cut through the quiet. "Admiral Corex, you will explain the proximity. Charges found in your personal effects." Through the ship's sensors, Marcus watched military police escort the protesting Zentorian away, but his attention was already elsewhere, drawn to a new problem the archive was highlighting. "Incoming vessels," the ancient AI announced. 3. Zentorian battlecruisers, weapons powered. Admiral Corex's failure has escalated to military intervention. Marcus felt the ship's weapon systems stir to life, their power levels climbing toward something that could crack continents. "They want to fight?" "Unknown." But you now face the choice every captain must. When to fight, when to flee, and when to find a third option. The Zentarian battlecruisers hung in Earth's atmosphere like metal storm clouds, their weapon signatures painting deadly equations across the ship's tactical displays. Marcus stood in the Archives command center, watching, as 3 vessels built for interstellar warfare aimed enough firepower at the Kepler facility to turn the entire desert into glass. "Surrender the vessel," Admiral Corex's replacement demanded over the communication channel. "Captain Valdris, Zentarian Fleet Command. The technology is too dangerous for human control." "Funny," Marcus said, his hands steady on controls that had become familiar. "Your admiral just tried to murder 43 researchers to prove I wasn't qualified. Maybe dangerous people shouldn't be talking about dangerous technology." The Archive's presence felt warm around him, supportive without being controlling. 3 days ago, Marcus had been invisible, a fixture of the facility that people looked through rather than at. Now he held the lives of everyone below in his hands. "You are untrained," Captain Valdris continued. "Surrender now and no harm will come to the facility." "Counter-proposal," Marcus replied, feeling the ship's weapon systems respond to his intent. "You leave peacefully, and I won't demonstrate what 15,000-year-old military technology can do to your antiques." Through the facility's communication array, he heard Dr. Vasquez's sharp intake of breath. "Marcus, those are battle cruisers. Their shields alone won't matter," Marcus finished quietly. He could feel the ship's capabilities now, understanding them the same way he'd always understood the relationship between water pressure and pipe diameter. The Zentarian vessels were powerful by current standards, but they were children's toys compared to what surrounded him. "However," he continued, opening a channel to the Zentarian fleet, "I'd rather not have to clean up the mess afterward. Captain Valdris, I'm transmitting something to your tactical officer." The data package contained complete specifications for the facility's repair drones, the same ones that had just saved 43 lives. Simple, efficient, designed to fix rather than destroy. "Your fleet has been in space for 6 months, Marcus observed. "I'm betting your environmental recyclers need maintenance. Your hull plating has micrometeorite damage, and at least one of your ships has been running on backup power cores because nobody wants to shut down long enough for proper repairs." The communication channel fell silent. Then Captain Valdris spoke again, his tone grudging. "How did you know about the power cores?" "Because I fix things for a living," Marcus said. "And because the Archive just shared something interesting with me. Want to know what the Eternal Makers actually built this ship for?" He felt the ancient vessel's approval as he accessed memories older than human civilization. "They weren't conquerors, they were engineers. The Warship classification, that's a mistranslation. The Archive was built to maintain peace by fixing what was broken: technology, infrastructure, relationships between species. The ship's holographic displays showed images from the deep past, massive vessels like the Archive working alongside other species to repair damaged worlds, restore failed ecosystems, rebuild civilizations torn apart by war. The weapons are for self-defense only," Marcus continued. "The real power is in making things work better than they did before. Captain Valdris, I can have your fleet running at peak efficiency in 6 hours. Your choice. We can fight and I'll win, or we can work together and everyone benefits." A long pause, then, "What do you want in return?" "Help me figure out how to do this job properly," Marcus said. "And maybe help me teach others what the Archive taught me. The galaxy has a lot of broken things that need fixing." As the Zentarian ships powered down their weapons and moved into formation for repairs, Marcus felt the Archive's deep contentment. Around him, the ship hummed with purpose, ready for the work ahead. He was still just a janitor, he supposed. He'd just gotten a much bigger building to maintain.